I'm doing a dessert today, and it's actually a dessert that may be a copycat version, or it may be the original version. It was in one of my old cookbooks. And if y'all ever heard of TastyKakes, they're still sold today. TastyKakes was a company that was founded in 1914. And the wife of the company named the cake because she said when she made it, or they made it, that it was tasty. So it took the name TastyKake. Some people know it as Tandy Cakes. I've done a lot of research on this after I found it in the cookbook. But anyway, I'll get started and then I'll tell you a little bit about it. The first thing I'm going to do is, without spilling them, I hope, add in 4 eggs. And the recipe in the old church cookbook I had said let them be room temperature, so they've been sitting out. And I've got 2 tablespoons of butter, and it says melted, but I don't like to use melted butter. I use the Crisco butter flavored. So I'm gonna pop that 2 tablespoons of butter in there. And of course our sugar, 2 cups, don't look, 2 cups of sugar. And let me move all this out of the way. A teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm just gonna eyeball that for a teaspoon of vanilla. So normally I've made this many times after I found the recipe in the old cookbook, and I normally do it by hand or by hand mixer, but I wanted to use our deluxe stand mixer. So I've got it open and I'm gonna close it, and I've got it set on the mix setting. So I'm gonna let it be mixing, and I didn't get my guard. It's got a guard app that you can put on and keep things from, like this flour that I'm gonna add in. But I want you to be able to see it. So I may get covered with a little bit of flour, but I want you to be able to see inside. The only other thing I have to add is our flour, and I've got baking powder in there and milk. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. And it starts out slow, and then it will gradually increase its speed. I love this mixer, y'all. So typically we're creaming our butter, our sugar, our vanilla flavoring. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I love these crack bowls because I can gently start incorporating my flour. And it says to alternate the flour and the milk. So I'm pouring in a little bit of each of those. I'm going to let it increase in speed before I add some more. Oh, it hurt me, and there it goes. So I'm going to add in a little more of my flour. And a little more of my milk. And it probably will increase again. So I'm going to wait for that. It only takes 2.5 minutes on the setting that I've got it on. And we have done one of those 2.5 minutes already. Maybe it's not going to increase in speed anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of this in. As well as my milk. I spilled my milk out. It wasn't the blender, that was me. I'm using the scraping beater, and I love that it goes all around the sides and gets all of that in. It's going to stop all by itself in 1 second. And I'm going to add 30 seconds because I waited so late to put in my last bit of flour. I want to do it. It's still looking a little thin, so I'm going to hit add 30 seconds and let it mix again for 30 seconds. go. And it stops. I love that it stops all by itself. Okay. And another feature that I love is you cannot set the function that you want to use until you close the lid. So I'm going to move this out of the way and take off. I'm going to go ahead and take this off so it don't drip all over my mixer. Let's say I am, y'all. It's backwards to me. Maybe I'm not. Oh well. Unless I turn it around, I can't see it. I'll just put my napkin right under here and let it catch any drips that it may have. So I've got my little napkin sitting there. Okay, so now I have got our large stone pan ready to go. I've got it lightly buttered. Even though my stoneware pan is very seasoned and used, you can tell by the look of it, I'm still going to butter it for this cake. So what I will do is pour this cake in this pan. It's going to be a thin cake, and it's a very light and dense cake. And then I'm going to let it bake. And after it bakes, I'm going to come back on, and we're going to top it with peanut butter, a very thin layer of peanut butter. And then after that peanut butter layer, we're going to do chocolate. And the chocolate is supposed to be the cake in the refrigerator then to harden that chocolate on the top. So a little more about this cake. It was originally sold in loaves for 5 cents and 10 cents, depending on the loaf size. And then in 1931, it became so popular that they made it into the little snack cakes. And I'll share some of this information with you. So I will not keep you on, but I'm going to pour it in the pan. I haven't preheated my oven, and I forgot. So I want to wait and pour it in my pan when my oven's preheated and it's ready to go. And I'll come back on when it's baked, and we'll top it with our peanut butter and chocolate. Stay tuned. Okay, it is done, and I've had it sitting just for a little while, but it's still hot. It smells so good, and I just wanted you to see it's really a thin, dense cake, but it sure smells delicious. So while it's still warm, I've let it sit out for maybe about 10 minutes. I'm going to put my peanut butter on the top, and I'm going to let the peanut butter sit for a little while, and I'll be melting. I just got some Hershey chocolate chips. You can use Hershey bars or the chocolate bark if you prefer. But I did put the peanut butter. I've got 1 cup, and I'm using crunchy peanut butter. Sometimes I sprinkle nuts on top or pecans on top, and sometimes I use creamy peanut butter and sometimes crunchy, and I like crunchy, so that's what I'm doing today. And the cake is really still so warm it probably would have spread just fine, but I did put it in the microwave for just about 15 seconds to get it to a pourable consistency so I can spread it out. And we want a very thin layer of the peanut butter, which is what the original TastyKakes had, just a very thin layer. I cannot wait till this cools. It's not hard to make, but it's time consuming because you have to let this sit and get a little bit hard once it's on this cake. And with the cake warm, it's going to take a little while. And then I will do the chocolate in the same manner that you're seeing me do this. Let me tip this down so y'all can see. And once the chocolate is put on, then it goes in the refrigerator for that chocolate. The TastyKakes have a thin chocolate coating, but a hard chocolate coating. So I'm just going to spread. I may have to get some more peanut butter since I'm using crunchy. It's not as thin as I can normally get it, but we're getting there. Oh goodness gracious, y'all, this makes a lot, but it's going to be so good. And you can actually cut this cake and put some slices in the freezer. It's just as delicious warmed over or cut later, unthawed, as it is when you make it. But I know I won't have any to freeze. Between me and my husband and grandchildren and son-in-laws and daughters, we'll eat this cake. I may carry some of my neighbors a slice. If you want to be a hit at a family reunion or a party that you're going to, you make these and go ahead and slice them in little bars, which is what I'm going to do. And you will get asked from everybody for the recipe. So that peanut butter made it just fine, y'all. Don't it look delicious? Okay. It's gonna be so, so good. Doesn't that look delicious, y'all? All right, so now I'm going to be patient, which is hard for me. I don't have many patience. I'm gonna be patient and let it sit until this peanut butter and cake is cooled. Maybe about 10 or 15 minutes for cooling. Then I'm going to pour my melted chocolate on it and put it in the refrigerator. And a tip I will give you is when you pour your chocolate on, because this chocolate's going to get like a hard topping, it's easier to slice to me before it hardens. So after I pour my chocolate on, I go ahead and make my cuts and then put it in the refrigerator and let it sit. And then I've already got it cut with the chocolate on top, and I'm ready to take it out and put it in a little serving bowl. All right, so y'all stay tuned and I'll be back with the finished product. Thanks, bye-bye. Okay, y'all, I have got the chocolate on and I've let it just sit out on my counter, I guess for about 10 or 15 minutes, but it still needs to go in the refrigerator. But oh my goodness, I cannot wait for it to get done. But I'm gonna take our nylon knife, and I told you before in the last part of the video that it's easier to slice before it hardens. My decision is always, how big do I want to make my bars? So I'm just going to slide through with this nylon knife. And I usually have a napkin just to go ahead and wipe off some of that excess chocolate. And then I'm going to come through again. I love this nylon knife. It cuts through things just like butter. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that on there. Okay, so I've got it sliced lengthwise. And now I will go through, do I want big bars, y'all, or little bars? I'm gonna go ahead and make them. This is where you can just make them any shape you want. And I won't keep you guys on for the whole thing, but I just wanted you to see what I meant by go ahead and pre-slice them. So now I'm going to finish doing them widthwise, pop this in the refrigerator and let it sit and get good and hard. And if I don't come back on, I'll take some pictures after I have them sliced and put out on a plate or serving tray. And as always, I will share the recipe in comments. And I did also, and I'll share some more information, the recipe in the church cookbook said that rumors had it that the wives of the employees at the TastyKake factory got their husbands to learn what was in this recipe, and they made them. So it's been handed down since 1914. So I don't know if it's the original or a copycat. I just know it's delicious. So anyway, thanks for watching, and look for the recipe in comments. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Okay, y'all, I figured it wasn't fair to show you the recipe and then not come back on and show you. I'm taking them out of the pan now, and you'll see why I was sharing the tip about cutting them before you put them in the refrigerator. So I'm cutting them and putting some in this cool and serve tray so I can keep some here, and then I'll put some in some other containers and take to my daughters and son-in-laws and anybody else. Okay, so the chocolate, you can probably hear that. It's hard. It's supposed to be a hard chocolate. So I take my spatula and just kind of break it loose from the sides of the pan. The easier pieces that are already cut are not that hard to get out. And then I just go under with the spatula. I love those corner pieces. You can see a good shot of the peanut butter. It's a thin peanut butter layer on that cake, and then that chocolate on top. And y'all, it is absolutely delicious. So I'm going to take one from this side. I had already kind of gone around with my spatula and tried to loosen them up. So you can see that one too. So I just wanted you to see what they look like. And y'all have to Google TastyKake and see if you can find that old commercial. I'm going to try to find it. It was something like, nobody makes a cake better than TastyKake. And it was just, it's a catchy slogan, and it just always stuck with me. So again, I will share this recipe in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope you'll try this recipe. They are just absolutely delicious and makes a lot of them. All right. Y'all have a great night. Bye-bye.
Nobody makes cakes like TastyKakes. Say it again.
Nobody that makes cakes.
Like
Like
TastyKakes.
Like TastyKakes. Yay.